A man brings in a fancy shotgun to the shop to sell it.
Well, I mean, it definitely looks French. That's about my extent of knowledge on this thing. Pops.
What do you got? Boutet or boutet? Boutet. He started doing this right around 1800-ish.
Rick explains the item to Corey and the customer.
You had to be really, really wealthy to have a gun like this. That is gold inlay, or they would literally keep on pounding the gold into the steel till it's stuck. All these pieces down here are really high quality steel, and there's probably some other stuff about it I don't know. Well, how much do you want for it? Because if he wants $50, I'll just give him that now. And
I'm looking at 10 grand.
Yeah, give Alex a call. I mean, it's most likely worth at least that.
Rick decides to get an opinion from the expert.
This is stunning. Boutet was the gunsmith in France. He was so good that he was the royal gunsmith to Louis XVI. So the guy had a long career as basically the finest gunsmith, many people would argue, in the world. So it's about probably a 50 or 60 caliber. It's muzzle loading, it's flintlock. What I'm doing there is just making sure that the springs are still good. And so it's a double trigger. So one trigger fires one cock, the other fires the other.
Any idea what it's worth?
I like to test it. If it fires how I believe it would, I'd be more comfortable evaluating.
So he asks to test it out first.
So the Boutet looks all polished up and ready to go?
This shotgun is like a piece of art. And if it's successful, I do think it'll help the value.
All right, here we go.
It functioned exactly as it should function.
What do you think it's worth?
I wouldn't be surprised to see it sell it for $30,000. It was a pleasure, Dennis. Thank you for letting me fire it.
I want a lot more. 20.
I'll give you 15 grand for it.
18.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you 16 grand for it.
We'll do 16.
All right, sweet.
The customer brings a rifle to sell, which he thinks is iconic.
Sir, what I have today is I have the British P1871 Martini Henry short lever rifle.
This was the rifle used by the most powerful army in the world. This was used by the British in the Zulu War. So this would go like that, and then this would... That is just gnarly.
You're ready to charge the hill, sir.
They liked part of the Martini and part of the Henry rifle. So they decided to come up with a hybrid, and they called it a Henry Martini rifle. It's in really, really good shape. How much you want for it?
Well, sir, I was looking for $1,250.
Do you mind if I have someone look at it?
Rick is able to see that the rifle is in very good shape, but still decides to bring in an expert.
This is the first breech-loading infantry rifle that the British Army ever adopted. So with one motion, when you drop this, it ejects the cartridge and recocks it. Now you're ready to fire again.
Okay.
It's dated 1872. This actually was originally one of the first ones made. You see this 780 here? Just above it, there is a WY. Now that stands for West Yorkshire Regiment. This is one of the oldest military regiments in the British Army.
A value is recommended by the expert.
So what do you think it's worth?
The rifle in this condition with the accessories and the early date, about $1,100.
I'm gonna stick with $1,250.
He's saying it's worth $1,100. I'll give you $600.
Don't say $1,000.
I can't. I'll tell you what. I'll go 7.
I have a number in my head. $800, sir.
$700.
$800, sir.
$700 is what makes sense to me.
I'm gonna have to thank you for your time, sir. And unfortunately, we can't get a deal done today.
If you change your mind, give me a call, man.
Will do.
Rick calls in a gun expert to take a look at a beautifully preserved musket.
A guy came in with a musket that he says was owned by a soldier during the Revolutionary War. This could be a very sought-after piece of American history. Brown vest that's in really great shape.
You know, I'm going to start shaking here in a minute because you just don't see these things. And why I think it's original is because this aged, rusted appearance has not been altered. Back in the day, in the heat of battle,
The expert demonstrates how the gun works and provides further explanations.
you could actually load and fire this without using the ramrod. To seat the ball, they would slam the musket down on the ground. Now, when you were to then fire the musket, they would have to have it up at the ready position, slightly get right to level, and then pull the trigger.
He has paperwork here saying that it's from Nicholas Veeder, who served in the Revolutionary War. But is this the one that Nicholas Veeder got during the Revolutionary War? How much does that really add to it?
It does add something to it.
The expert recommends a value for the gun.
There's lots of other guns in this picture. If they were to have said that the one that's marked Grice 1762 with the initials on the escutcheon, then it'd be hard to argue.
Well, the bill of sale I have has that.
That means going and getting a statement notarized,
So what do you think it's worth?
15 to 20,000 by itself.
Thanks for all the info, dude.
Absolutely.
Let's see if Rick makes a deal.
I'll give you $15,000 for it.
Which is not there. just not there.
Okay, well, all right. You changed your mind.
I thought 15,000 was low.
A customer brings a Navy gun into the shop, which Rick really likes.
What I've got is a Savage Navy, 36 caliber.
Ugly gun. One of the goofiest designs.
These two fools don't know what they're talking about.
Let me call someone in and get an idea what I can pay for.
He brings in an expert to ask a few questions.
This is what I would call a proto-double action. They sold about 11,000 out of the 20,000 made to the government. The rest went to the civilian market.
How much is it worth?
In its condition, the gun's probably worth $1,800 to $2,000.
Let's check how Rick negotiates on the price.
No, I'm thinking more like $1,250 though.
$1,650.
I'll go $1,300.
$1,575.
I'll go $1,300.
$1,550.
$1,300.
I can't do $1,300. 14 and a half. That's really the best I can.
I'll go $1,350.
$1,400 and I'll do that. And we'll shake hands and I'll walk away and
I'll do $1,400.
touchdown.
A lady brings a poker cheating device to the shop.
They were used to cheat at playing poker cards.
A lot of people got killed with those in this town.
Really neat little engineering here.
Any idea of what you want for it?
I'm thinking the range is anywhere from 600 to 6,000.
Corey calls an expert.
I'm going to have to call a friend of mine.
Do you ever heard of the saying, there's nothing up my sleeve? Well, this is the device that it started from. This is actually a Martin San Francisco card holdout.
So what do you think it's worth?
Between $1,500 and $2,200.
I would give you $800.
2,000.
There's no money to be made. I'd give you like $800. It's going to be difficult to sell.
13.
$900.
$900.
All right, deal.
A guy comes into the shop to offer a price for a revolver.
How much are you looking to get?
I'm thinking 5.
You mind if I call Brent? I just want to make sure it's not pieced together.
Absolutely. Looks to be a solid gun. You can actually see remnants of the original blue finish here on the trigger.
Okay.
This has definitely been harshly cleaned.
So what do you think it's worth?
In this condition, I'd say between 1,000 and 1,500.
For $500, I think I'll just get a nice frame for it.
I mean, I'll go like $750.
My bottom was $1,500.
I mean, I'll do $8.
$1,000?
$800, man.
12?
$800.
We have a deal.
We got a deal?
A man with fancy boots comes into the shop.
Hey, how's it going? Those are some fancy boots. And that's a fancy piece of wood. We have a pistol grown into a tree. 1858 Remington. If you're in the Civil War, this was a great thing to have. You know, you got one shot in the stun. I mean, if you were carrying around 2 of these, you got 12 shots. Carried one of these with you, there's a lot better chance you'd live.
Rick asks a few questions regarding the item and takes a closer look.
Is it loaded?
Supposedly, there is a bullet in the chamber.
Bob White. That one's empty. Can I take it out of this?
I've never taken it out.
And yeah, that's loaded. The one in the chamber you're never going to be able to figure out. I've definitely never seen anything like this. What in the world is it worth?
I want $18,000.
The expert checks the gun and is amazed by it.
This is crazy.
There's just a million things with this. We have no idea what's going on.
This is a Remington New Model Army. They made them roughly from 1862 to 1875. It wasn't for the Colt fire that destroyed the factory, this gun probably wouldn't have been produced in as great a quantity as it was.
I can't figure out a price on this thing.
I don't know. There's nothing else like it. It's one of a kind. You're buying the chance to talk about this gun. It's just, I'll tell you what I'd pay for it. I'd pay $3,000 or $4,000, no problem. Man, you showed me something I've never seen before.
Rick negotiates on the price.
This is one of those few things that I would buy off a customer that would not put it in my showcase. I'd bring it home. I'd give you $4,000 for it.
No, I'm going to pour myself an adult beverage and sit around and tell stories about it.
If you change your mind, I don't know why it's so cool. I know we'd take 5.
No.
I mean, what would you take?
15.
It's really cool to talk about for $5,000, not for 15.
In this video, we have a Gunsmoke brought in by a customer to be sold.
This was used in Gunsmoke in 1957 and 1958.
Gunsmoke, the TV show?
Yes, sir. This holster, the cartridges sit in the back. This one has an extra 2 up front, which makes it very unusual and rare.
In the late 50s, it was the highest rated show on television.
The owner shows Rick the paperwork.
So it has the movie prop numbers on it?
Yes, sir. These paperworks came directly from Steambridge Gun Rentals. This holster was used on the series at that time.
Rick takes the gun in his hands to take a closer look.
Why are you so nervous about it? It's just a prop gun.
Why has it got a firing pin in it? You need a firing pin to shoot blanks.
Yeah.
If you try to put a bullet in this thing and fire it, it would blow up in your hand. Holes right here are a lot smaller than the holes in the back. This gun won't fire at all. How much do you want for it?
$1,200.
You know, I'm thinking more like $500. I mean, I have to resell this thing.
I need at least $800 for it.
$700.
Can we split the difference and go $750?
$700.
Deal.
A gun collector brings Chum a pair of 19th century duckfoot pistols.
What do you have here? I have a pair of brass duckfoot pistols. These are volley pistols that were made for a British naval officer. I see why they call him a duckfoot. Looks like a little duckfoot. Even though I'm not supposed to deal with high-priced items, these guns are some of the coolest things that I've seen come into the shop. It's time to prove to Rick he's not the only one that can wheel and deal.
Chum asks for an offer.
Okay, how much are you looking to get for him? I'm interested. I'm asking $50,000. If you let me take these to the gun range and fire them.
You guys look really busy.
I was waiting for you to get back, actually. I gotta take the rest of the day out of the shop, but I'm still gonna be working.
What are you gonna do?
I'm about to go purchase a gun, duckfoot pistol. I need to go make sure it works. I told the guy to meet me at the range.
And how much are you gonna buy this for?
He said 50, but he was just throwing
$50?
$1,000, but he was just throwing
Okay, I'm definitely going with you then. I'm going with you. Don't worry about it.
I got this. Trust me.
They meet at the gun range.
I asked Alex to come down and meet us because I needed a second opinion, because I unequivocally do not trust Chum.
And the reason they designed this, though, it was for crowd control. So any time that you might have a mass of people trying to get you, you would want a volley pistol in your hand.
All right, we'll load them up.
That is cocked and ready to fire.
Chum and Corey test the guns.
Chum, you're first.
Yep.
Did I hit anything?
Yeah, you got a hit here. And you got there. That's 2. Chum got 1.
You had 4 barrels and you shot the target once.
What?
The expert recommends a price.
I mean, I know they're cool, but what are they worth?
They're the real deal. They're rare, they're really early by a known maker, and they fire. Value them at $45,000.
I was looking for $50,000. You know I can't pay that. I'm more in the 20. Can you come down a little bit, or would you accept 40? I could do 30 grand. That's the most I can. Would you do 35? I wouldn't. 30 grand is what I can do. Sorry, I can't take anything less than 35. Well, I appreciate it, my man. Thank you.
Up next, we have a Japanese weapon from World War II.
I came to the pawn shop today, try to sell my Japanese knee mortar. I'd really like to get $2,000 for it. My dad served during World War II, and he brought some stuff back that I always had an eye on. This was responsible for quite a bit of carnage.
It's got a lot of history behind it, and that's what World War II collectors want.
It's been demilitarized after the war, cut here in the barrel, and then if you look in the front end, you can see that there's a bar that's been welded across there as well.
Okay, so what did you want to do with it?
I'd like to sell it.
Okay, and how much did you want for it?
I'd like to get $2,000.
Rick is interested. However, he needs an expert to help him.
I know absolutely nothing about the value of this thing. I got a buddy who knows about all this stuff.
Built in 1929. This was a very, very deadly weapon. Main thing you'll find with a mortar, a big heavy base plate. Guys would run up on the field, they'd get down, they would hit it into the dirt, scoop it back, they'd drop a grenade in, and then they would pull this trigger and off it would go.
Are they legal to own?
The answer is yes, this is 100% legal to own.
So what's it worth?
Let me evaluate the piece. 4 digits, so it's an early production piece, which makes it more valuable. People will ask crazy money for it. Oh, $5,000. But in reality, when these things do trade, $2,000. If I was selling it, I'd ask $1,995.
The negotiations begin, but will Rick be able to convince the customer?
This is one of those rare items that doesn't come up too often. I'd give you like $1,100 for it.
That's a little low, I think. Could you go $1,500?
No, because I'm thinking that's probably as close to what I'm going to get out of it. I'll go $1,200 and I won't go no more. I mean, $1,200 I think is more than a fair price.
$1,300.
I'll meet you in the middle at $1,250.
Sold.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with the $1,250. I can use that money well in my collection. They got a very good piece.
This incredibly detailed antique pistol has Rick amazed.
Pirate pistol of some kind. I am at the pawn shop today to try and sell my antique pirate pistol. I am hoping to get at least $50,000 for my antique pistol.
How did you get it?
My father collected firearms.
Rick is not sure how much the pistol is worth, so he calls up an expert to know more about it.
So how much are you looking to get out of it?
I'm thinking $50,000.
I have a buddy who really specializes in antique firearms like this.
Absolutely, I'd love to know more about it.
The expert is impressed and shares his knowledge.
This is beautiful. I would call this a Caucasian pistol. This would be called a miguelette lock. A miguelette lock has the mainsprings on the outside of the lock. A traditional flintlock, the mainsprings on the inside. All this silver is hand-etched.
Do you have an idea of how old it was?
I think it's the turn of the 19th century. Because of the silver, because of the fire gilding. This is one of the highest detailed full Caucasian pistols I've ever seen.
They decide to put it to test.
And are you able to know if this gun would fire or not?
There's no question it would fire. And it's one of the nicest examples I've ever seen.
I would love to see it fired. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that we can actually fire this gun.
The result is very impressive.
So for a target, I set up this pinwheel thing. All right, Tracy, if you come on this side of me so nobody's downrange in the muzzle. So I'm gonna pull back on this hammer and I'm gonna let it go. We ready?
And that's a day off.
I mean, that went about as well as it could possibly go.
All right, so the big question is, how much is it worth?
If it were mine, I wouldn't sell it for less than $15,000.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. All right, so what do you want for it? Obviously, $50,000 is not going to happen.
How about 14?
I mean, that makes 0 sense. I mean, the most I will go is $10,000, not a penny more.
I'm gonna say no for now and kind of just think on it. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
We have a customer with a very unique war item.
I came down to the pawn shop today to try to sell my World War II grenade. I really have no idea what it's worth. It's super rare, so hopefully it's worth a lot.
Well, there's no boomy stuff inside of it. So what do you know about it?
It was either made by the OSS or the CIA 60 years ago.
Well, you got a lot of balls for buying a grenade and then taking it apart. I've never seen a design like this. The only thing I know is EKC means Eastman Kodak Company. Let me call up Tony down at the gun store. Until I get it checked out, I have no idea what it's worth.
Rick needs some help, so he calls in Tony.
This is a grenade that was made for the OSS. It was the forerunner to CIA. This would normally be filled with TNT. This screws on this like that, and then this goes in like this. 43 people were injured during the testing. 3 people died. How much did you pay? $5. You did real good.
Good, so I got some gas money coming.
You got car money coming.
It turns out Rick has something a very one-of-a-kind item in his hands.
The last time I saw one of these for sale was in 2007, and it sold for over $2,000.
Thanks for coming in, Tony. I appreciate it. This thing is beyond cool, and I definitely want the damn thing. So how much do you want for it?
Well, I'm thinking 16 now.
You can do that.
All right.
Let's go write it up.
Sounds good.
Psyched I got this grenade. It was a great find. It doesn't get any cooler than that.
The Cold War item has Rick amazed.
This is known as an infrared heat seeker for the Sidewinder missiles. I'm coming down to the pawn shop to sell my infrared heat seekers. But there's a lot of collectors out there would love to own one.
No, we've never had a guidance system for a missile.
They were used to guide the Sidewinder missiles.
So where did you get this thing?
Well, my father used to do military surplus bidding in the 70s and 80s. He bid on empty shipping containers, 400 of them, sealed bid. He won it for $25. As he's loading them into the truck, he noticed some were heavy, and these were inside.
Do you have paperwork from the Department of Defense saying you can own this thing?
Yes.
And this is all from the Department of Navy.
It looks like it's good to go.
In 1964, this was so high-tech, it was unbelievable. Is this thing what she says it is? Or if it's legal to buy?
What the hell are you going to do with it?
I mean, are they worth any money? I mean, let me go give someone a call, find out what's going on with it.
Great.
The expert is left amazed.
I'm a U.S. Marine Corps F-18 pilot with 17 years of experience. Now, this is a very interesting item. I'm really surprised that you own this. Do you have documents that say that you can have this? It's actually an AIM-9 heat seeker head. Very rare to have that outside of a military base, let alone in a pawn shop in Las Vegas. This item is basically the top 1.5 feet of a 9-foot heat-seeking missile. Probably came out early 1960s. This was leading technology.
He has some more unbelievable news, but also some bad news.
Back in the 1960s, actually, this missile was compromised. A year later, the communists had the exact same missile. So that advantage we had initially in Vietnam was gone by the late 1960s.
So you're not like a Russian spy or anything, are you?
It's in good shape. On a 1 to 10 scale as a fighter pilot, I'd give it about a 9.
Rick goes into negotiations and gets the better out of the deal.
Really, commercial value, nothing. I'll be honest with you.
Thanks, man.
You bet.
I appreciate you coming out.
Good to see you.
So how much were you looking to get out of this?
About $3,000?
No. I'm thinking $500.
You don't think this is worth more money? Well, $750's out of the question.
$750's out of the question. I'll go $550.
Okay, well, we have more. I'll take $550.
Okay. Even if I don't sell it, I'm just as happy having it sit on my shelf.